We also see production shutting down because of shortage of steel. So there's actual shortages because a lot of people aren't actually working there. The plants and the manufacturing centers, factories are not open, right? But here's in terms of normally when you're sitting at home all day and you're not actually doing anything productive, normally you would think, well, this economy isn't so great. Well, incomes are soaring according to the data as well. Along with income from interest, dividends, rental properties, farm income, income from Social Security, and other transfer payments, total income in January in America altogether jumped by 13% from a year ago to a record $21.5 trillion. These stimulus payments made for a majestic free money-based overshoot. Well, that's us jumping the shark, like massively. Again, here's the trend line, right? Up with inflation, all the money printing, they're keeping up. Whoa, like this is like a huge surge in income, 13%. And yet, inflation, they say, the Fed says there's no inflation. They're not concerned about inflation. Jerome Powell says he's not concerned about inflation. And there's no productive capacity behind this, right? We know people aren't going to a job. We know they're not creating any wealth. So, like, you have to start to question, like, where are we? What wonderland is this?
Well, what's remarkable is that for years and years, we would, on this show, talk about quantitative easing and why it's basically just a transfer payment to hedge funds. And they live on that money, and it's not productive in any way. And they're just shuffling paper around, and they're lobbying the government to give them more transfer payments, more free money, more quantitative easing. And I think a lot of people out there watching the show would say, oh, that's pretty interesting. I'm not really sure what you're talking about. Okay, now they kind of know what we're talking about, because the average person in America now has been getting these transfer payments or money printing directly into their inbox, into their mailbox, and our incomes are soaring like they've never soared before. So they're living like hedge fund managers. They're living like Ken Griffith. They're living like Warren Buffett, who they just sit around and get the transfer payments from the government all day long for doing nothing. So now the average person is having the exact same experience as a Paul Singer or as a Stan Druckenmiller. So how are they going to go back from here? Are you now going to go to this population and say, okay, fun time's over. We need to put that money back into the hedge funds accounts, and you've got to go and get a job that is completely worthless and get minimum wage. So fun. No, I don't see how they're going to go back.
I don't see how you go back as well. That's going to be the problem, because you're living so well, but it really, really, really relies on one thing. And that is the rest of the world taking your dollars that you're earning sitting at home and sending you actual labor that they have to go to a factory. They have to put together the stuff, build it for you, and send it to you. If they start to look at these charts and go, wait, how are these people making so much money when we know their schools are closed, we know their manufacturing outlets are closed, we know everything's closed there. Like, how exactly where are they getting this money?
Right. So when you go and you take the money from the U.S. government that arrives as a transfer payment, and you go to Walmart and you buy something, the government printed in the U.S. money goes to a Chinese laborer. That's where the money goes. It goes to the country where we outsourced our labor to, China. So at some point, though, if China decides that for whatever reason, it could be politics, it could be geopolitical problems simmering on the periphery, that they don't want to be in the U.S. dollar business anymore, and they've already signaled that they don't, then when you go down to Walmart and you say, okay, here's that free paper funny coupon confetti money that this government sent me, I want to buy some groceries, and suddenly the message you get back is, well, we don't really want that same deal we had last week. We're going to charge it double now because we don't really trust that dollar so much. And you're like, wait a minute. And then you go back to the government and you say, hey, government, the Chinese won't take my dollars anymore. Send me more. And the government's like, well, we don't want to get anybody too upset, so we'll just send you more. And then bing, bang, boom, bang, hyperinflation.
The most important part of it is that even if all trade stops, U.S. and China go to war, you still need to figure out how to build stuff again. So the price signals over the past 20, 30 years in particular, as the Fed lied and lied harder and harder, and the lies always have to get bigger and bigger to hide the old lies, right? The lie always was that there's no cost to you, the American. In fact, it's win-win for you to send all your jobs to China. So Okay, the wages, obviously the Chinese laborers get wages. The Walmart heirs receive the most, right? They're multi-billionaires over each year, get more billions and billions of dollars. The laborers in China get some money. They have the middle class burgeoning there, but they gain knowledge on the factory floor that is impossible to go back and regain 20 years of knowledge that Americans no longer have. So when this system collapses, they're going to be starting from scratch again and trying to gain knowledge of how these systems work, how the assembly line works, how things get made and built and delivered to everybody's to the shelves at the Walmart.
Yeah, America got benched, 30 years ago, and they haven't played in the game for 30 years. Now suddenly it's fourth down, second and goal, and the team on the field is being carried off on a stretcher, and they're sending in all the replacements. And I'm like, wait a minute, we haven't had a practice. We don't know what's going on. What do we do? What's this, a football? They'd have no idea. So it's a very unhealthy situation.
But just as the people who in America were not able to work in a factory floor to create wealth, to be part of that process, to learn how to innovate, because